Hey basketball coaches and players, today I'm going to be talking to you about what is a zone offense. So basically, very generally, a zone offense is when you're running a offensive play against a zone defense. That's the very basics. But obviously there's something behind it because it's called a zone offense, and why would you not run it against a man-to-man? So let's get down to it. First off, there's three main principles to have against a zone. One is to attack the gaps. And what I mean by attacking the gaps, let's say we're picturing a 2-3 zone. And we have a 2-3 zone, and if you don't know what a zone defense is, basically it's when a player is guarding an area of the court and not an individual player. So, any of these gaps, they're also called double team locations. Those are areas that you really want to attack in a zone. So this is a 2-3 zone because there's 2 players up top and 3 players in the bottom. Now from there, what we would want if we were to say to attack the gaps is to have player 1 attack, in this case, between players 2 and 4. Now why is this so important? So in this principle, by attacking this gap, you are closing off or getting a double team on that player. Now the reason why this is so effective is now you have 2 players guarding 1 because they want to try and force players outside of the key and preferably along the sidelines. So what happens here is now there's 2 players possibly open. Usually a zone will then move in to protect the key itself, which now leaves player 5 not open anymore. But we can now have player 3 open for a 3-point shot. This is also called driving and dishing. This is a very, very popular strategy against a zone defense. Another strategy is called paint touches, which is essentially the same thing. It is to drive the ball towards the paint to collapse the defense, which then allows you to kick that ball out. But you don't necessarily have to drive towards the basket to get that ball into the paint. You could just very simply be able to pass that ball to a low post player, which then should collapse that defense. So in this case, we would pass over to player 3, have player 4 move up and protect, or at least guard player 3, who would then pass it down into player 5, which would then collapse player 4 because this is another double team location because this is player 5's zone and this is player 4's zone. So by having player 5 have that ball, you can now have player 5 get double teamed. But a very good strategy to add on to this is to overload the side at the same time. Now what do I mean by overloading the side? What that means is by getting 3 or 4 players on one side of the court. And how we do that is very simply when player 1 passes to 3, he can cut down towards this low corner, which again now creates the triangle. However, we can now have player 2 move towards the perimeter at the key extended, or we could have player 4 cut across to the high post. Now, the high post is another deadly area and that you can incorporate into your zone offense. Let's say we had instead a 3-out 2-in offense, and we had player 1 pass over to player 4 who cuts over to the high post. Now, because player 5's zone is the key, that usually lifts up player 5. And now, even though this is a paint touch, and let's say we did overload the side and move player 1 down, we now have so many different options to our advantage. So we could do a high to low pass, which is another strategy that a lot of zone offenses have. And then, on top of that, we could even kick that ball out to player 3. And at that point, we would have player 3 being able to pass down to player 1 for a shot. There's so many different options. We could have a high to low pass, which would then have player 5 kick out that ball. we would have player 2 possibly playing between players 4 and 3, who's now scrambling to protect player 1, and then that comes in with the extra pass. Now, you've probably heard of ESPN and TNT analysts talking about the Toronto Raptors and their zone offense making the extra pass, which is what this is. You have a closeout player. You make the extra pass. This player doesn't take that 3. He passes on to player 3 to take the 3-point shot himself. So even though player 5 didn't get the assist, he makes that pass. He gets what's called the hockey assist, where player 1 now passes over to player 3 for the 3-point shot. Now, another strategy that the Russians used to really use a lot against Team Canada way back before I was even born was this next strategy. Let me show you. So if you're running a 4-out offense against a 2-3 zone, really quickly, this area right here behind the backboard, and same as this area, was called, and still is by some older coaches, called the Russian spot. Just because the Russians used that spot. That's what I've been told anyways, so it's an old term from like the 60s. Anyways, so basically what the Russians used to do was to have player 1 pass to player 5, and player 5 would be cutting up from the low post. He would pass into player 5, which then would bring up player 5 red into the high post to guard that high post. Player 3 also would be moving up because there's nobody down here to protect that area, so he might as well move up and help out here, because now we've got a high triangle up top, which is now exposing the baseline. So what we have now is player 4. He's going to be cutting towards that baseline on this side, the Russian spot on the left side, and then we can have player 2 cut down towards this block to keep player 4 red over towards that right side. We now have a high to low pass, and that's a very easy shot to take when there's no defenders around him to guard him. I hope that this video has helped you with your zone offense. If it has, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time. Make sure to go check out my Unbeatable basketball defense down in the description below, because it takes away that baseline from everybody.